Hi, everyone. Welcome to Virtual Eco 111. We need to talk about risk aversion. That's the one topic from Chapter 27 that we had not finished before the break. Remember, Professor Weinberg was supposed to come in and do that, but with all the coronavirus nonsense, he got hung up. So I'm going to circle back and do that now. We're still in Chapter 27, the basic tools of finance. We've done two of the three modules, time value of money, the value of an asset. Now we're going to do risk aversion, which is an interesting topic, part of behavioral economics. When we talk about aversion, it means avoid. So the basic principle here is people don't like risk. Human beings don't like risk. They don't like uncertainty. So they'll take certain steps to avoid it, right? To reduce the exposure they have to uncertainty. There are lots of definitions. My preferred definition relates to how a risk averse person behaves. A risk averse person prefers lower returns with known risks rather than higher returns with unknown risks. So what does that mean for us? You think back to our hypothetical person, a person who has savings. She has some choices about where her savings should live. Should we go to the bank and put the money in the bank? You can do that, and you can know that your risk is very low when you put money into the bank, but at the same time, you're going to get a very low interest rate. You're going to get a low return. So you're trading low returns for a certain certainty, right? Very low risk. On the other hand, a person who buys stocks will probably, well, not probably, will get higher returns. You'll make more money, but you don't know from one day to the next how much your investment is going to be worth. So you have unknown risk. That's the spectrum. Most people who are risk averse tend to skew towards the bank deposit thing. It's not always the right thing to do, but that's how people behave, right? So it's all about choices. People have choices. Should I take a chance? Should I invest in the stock market, or should I play it safe? Should I put money into the bank? Lisa Simpson has this choice here, right? Do I go into this dark thing, or and he the sign that says, or he the sign that says come out, keep out. Sorry. Um, so that's her choice, right? So as I say, we're not always smart about how this works. We are sometimes make irrational choices, illogical choices. So here's Dilbert. It's an American cartoon about a guy who works in a tech firm. He doesn't like his job, and so he's thinking about quitting, but he realizes if he does, he's going to lose some of his employee benefits. He'll lose some of the stocks that he has in his employer. So he's going to stay because he doesn't want to lose that. He doesn't want to lose that money. He'll stay in his rotten job because he doesn't want to give up those employee benefits. But the garbage man he's talking to says that doesn't make sense. What you're doing is focusing more on this um, the risk of the unknown, right? And so you're going to avoid that risk by staying in your rotten job. What you should do instead is think about the opportunity that you might get from taking that leap, right? Accepting that risk because it might be much better. Dilbert says, that makes a lot of sense. And the garbage man says, well, you're just not very smart. So let's go back. Risk aversion. A risk averse person prefers lower returns with known risks rather than higher returns with unknown risks. In real life, in plain English, it says that people don't like to gamble. Now recognize you can be risk averse in some aspect of your life, finances, for example, but not risk averse in other aspects. You could do crazy stuff in your personal life, like jump out of airplanes or bungee jump or gamble, either in a casino or buying lottery tickets, right? Those are all risk-seeking behaviors. It's not those people who do that are not risk averse, so but they could still keep their money in the bank. Right, so different aspects of your life display different risk behaviors. All right, so we can break the world down into three kinds of people. Risk averse people, people who avoid risk indifferent people who don't care one or the other, risk or no risk, I don't care, right? Or risk seeking people who like it, right? So they're both jumping out of airplanes, but they are also buying crazy stock market investments like options or derivatives or things like that, right? We can graph the behaviors of each of these. let me spend a little bit of time on this. So there are three models displaying the behaviors of the three people I just described, right? Risk averse, risk indifferent, or risk neutral people, or risk seeking. Let's talk about the risk um, averse people, right? So what do we have here? We've got a model or a graph that shows both wealth and utility. So the x-axis shows how much money this person has, how wealthy they are, and the y-axis tells us how much happiness, how much utility that person gets from a given level of wealth. So for example, if we have, let's suppose this person has this amount of wealth, right? If I go up, that's a pretty bad line, but there it is, right? If I go up from this level of wealth, this person has this amount of happiness from the wealth that she has, right? Um, if we have another person, I'm going to try to make this equal, right? So if we have another person who has a higher level of wealth, well, that's another squiggly line, right? We have a higher level of happiness. That makes sense. More wealth means more happiness. But how much more? Well, if I go from the happiness for this person, right, to the happiness of this person, well, I'm increasing my wealth by this much, and I'm increasing my utility, right, by this much, my happiness. Let's take this one step further. I've got a third person who has this amount of wealth. That's a better line, a little, well, it was, right? And so here we have a person, again, I'm trying to make these increases in wealth the same. So here we have, I'm going from person number 2 to person number 3. How much more happiness does person number 3 get from their increased wealth? Well, it's this amount, right? So here's my change in wealth. Here's my change in utility. Not very much, right? Not very much at all. And so this illustrates a concept that we've seen a lot of, the diminishing marginal something of something. So here we have the diminishing marginal utility of wealth, which means that as you get richer, the pleasure you get, the happiness you get from more wealth starts to go down. And that makes sense. Give a poor person $1,000, they're pretty happy. If you give Bill Gates $1,000, he probably will shrug it off. He won't get excited about that at all. He is That illustrates this notion of diminishing marginal utility of wealth. So that's it for our first video here. And we're going to continue with the next slide. The next video, which I'm going to talk about examples of people who are risk averse. See you soon.